Da-na-na-na-na-na. 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 Da-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. 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 Da-na. Has anyone noticed that Umbrella Academy is basically the X-Men? You have a group of superpowered people who live in a mansion that's also an academy that's ran by some old secretive wealthy genius who recruited all of them as teens, and let's be honest, he's really manipulating all of them behind the scenes. Oh, and the team and their powers. I mean, you got your telekinetic types, your throwing types, your OP insane types, the beastly types, your when I use my powers I hurt people types, and not to mention, the team is diverse and from all over the world. The Umbrella Academy is very much like X-Men, and dare I say, derivative in some ways. But in execution, Umbrella Academy is something that we haven't seen before. Umbrella Academy is the X-Men movie that we never got out of the Fox X-Men series, since, let's be honest, the X-Men movies weren't really X-Men movies, were they? What is at the heart of an X-Men story, which Umbrella Academy nails by the way, is the team's together but apart dynamic. All of the X-Men team members have their own reasons for doing things, and they work together but not for the same reasons. In fact, many of the X-Men have mixed feelings about what they're doing or have ulterior motives, but despite how they may see to their own affairs or go on their own side quests, they always come together as a team in the end because of their camaraderie and the overarching sense of good and evil that they have in the dichotomous social dilemma that is invariably presented in the big bad that they face in the final battle. Magneto, the metaphorical Malcolm X to Xavier's MLK. Apocalypse, the ideological extreme of mutant pride and nationalism. The Sentinels, the ideological extreme of government surveillance and oppression of people of color in non-conforming bodies. The Dark Phoenix, the manifestation of supreme power capable of devouring the imperfection of man in all existence to create something new and clean. Fox's X-Men movies, the entire X-Men movie franchise, has dabbled in these elements but hasn't fully actualized what is essential about an X-Men story. They lacked the keen sense of individuality among the team members that is so inherent to the plot. Despite everyone having their own unique abilities, each member suffers with trauma related to their manifestations. What does it mean to live for lifetimes? What is it to have uncontrollable powers? What is it to never touch someone without hurting them? What does the mission mean to each one of the team members? What makes the fight worth it? And which fights aren't worth fighting? To who and why? Storm's claustrophobia, Jean's insecurity, Scott's fear of losing Jean, Rogue and her search for love, Professor X's secrets, Jubilee's search for family and home. We don't see a fully fleshed out narrative of the answer to these questions from the X-Men movies unless your name is Wolverine or Professor X, or Magneto or Mystique for some reason. The reason why X-Men only dabbled in these ideas is because after the first X-Men movie was released, it was clear that they were strictly going to center around Hugh Jackman or Wolverine, and then when the second series of films was released, Professor X, Magneto, and Jennifer Lawrence. Essentially, what this choice did was pull focus away from the team. Cyclops was completely sidelined and overshadowed. Storm's claustrophobia and goddess complex isn't addressed, basically giving her no definable character traits. Beast is a completely different character half the time. Rogue's romance is undercut by the weird choice to make her emo, and Jubilee is reduced to a cameo. In Fox's movies, you get no sense of the team dynamic, but instead get tons of time with Wolverine, who is a fine adaptation, if not just way too tall, but draws way too much attention to himself and away from the team, and the overarching messages of greater good that the team creates. Umbrella Academy, on the other hand, does this very well. Every character is relatively balanced throughout the entire series. X-Men couldn't do this with 7 full-length movies and some Wolverine spin-offs. And the only characters we really know about are the 4 I've already mentioned. And their backstories have been so retconned that it's really hard to say what we truly know about them, or where Mystique is from entirely. Umbrella Academy has a lot of thematic elements that guide the narrative that aren't undercut by what appear to be studio mandates for bankable characters. When they go to save the world, you care about the world that they're saving and the people in it because it means something to the characters. Umbrella Academy allows each character to grow and learn and experience their lives and their powers in human ways. They're arbiters of their own fates. They aren't mindlessly being dragged along from mission to mission by a manipulative power above them. They choose what's important to them. They choose how and when they support their siblings. Not to mention, Umbrella Academy is actually a good show with consistent writing. At least 30% of the X-Men films were kind of terrible, and you can choose which ones. Still, Umbrella Academy has plenty of elements that make it distinct from X-Men, like the family dynamic and the lack of race allegory. But hopefully, when Kevin Feige takes the reins of the X-Men cinematic universe, he'll be able to use Umbrella Academy as inspiration. Because the X-Men cinematic universe can be what it should with the appropriate guidance.